Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another Torchwood review. And today's Torchwood review is To the Last Man. So, what is To the Last Man about? Well, essentially, the Torchwood team go to a hospital when all of a sudden they pick up some strange rift energy, and Gwen and her team find themselves hopping back and forward between World War One. They discover that the hospital seems to have some kind of temporal rift, and it seems like it's all linked to do with Tommy Brockle. Who is Tommy Brockle, you may be asking? Well, he is a WW1 soldier who was cryogenically frozen to prevent a rift incursion. However, Tommy doesn't realize this back in 1918. Instead, he's suffering from shell shock and finds himself in a precarious situation in which he remembers being given a device he's not quite sure how to use, but later on by the end of the episode will be very apparent to him. Toshiko and the team decide to wake Tommy up. They let him out a couple of times a year, just so he can stretch his legs and feel human. However, they know when the time comes they'll have to take him back to the hospital to break the paradox / time fracture that seems to be haunting the hospital. Whilst in a pub, Tommy finds himself reconciling with this oncoming storm when he looks up at the news and suddenly sees that there's another war on in another country. This war, of course, is the war in Afghanistan. When Toshiko asks him down at the beach why he's not happy, he points out because in his time and his knowledge of war, he was taught to believe that war would end, the war to end all wars. Toshiko lets him off with this and of course tries to comfort him. The pair fall in love but soon find out that their love can't last. When the moment finally comes for Tommy to try and use the machine, he begins to stumble and he finds himself in a situation in which Toshiko must help him to do it. We then learn when Tommy goes back to his original time and suffers shell shock once again in a bed that his original self has been taken out of the room to be cryogenically frozen. This means that time is set back on its original course. As far as the army are concerned, he has shell shock and eventually will be shot for cowardice due to a mental PTSD that back in the time would not have been treated. Meanwhile, his previous self, the younger version of himself that gets cryogenically frozen, is waiting in the Torchwood vaults to be woken up by the Torchwood team. This means that Tommy's life throughout the course of this episode is one big cycle. So, what did I think of To the Last Man? I absolutely love this episode. Why? Not only because they're trying to make a WW1 soldier not feel like a lab experiment, but also because of the way that they can understand his situation, and most importantly, they let him off with the way that he talks. I also love the sympathy in his voice and the way that he feels sorry for the future soldiers, which really shows that no matter what time zone a soldier would come from, the fact of war continuing to go on is something that they all relate to. This in turn, I feel like the fact that this is even brought up as a whole in this episode is the most justifying thing ever. The amount of soldiers who have come forward over the years, absolutely heartbroken, whether they fought for the country for the right reasons or fought for it because it was their duty. But still, to be the last man at the end of the day is a consequence that will shake you to the core for the rest of your life. And in Tommy's case, he points this out to Toshiko, and for that reason, I give this episode a solid 10 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next Torchwood review. Until then, stay beautiful and have an incredible night.